How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, March 1st, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, with the month of February being over, I think it's necessary to go through the players that are currently leading the entire NBA in their statistical categories as we kind of navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. First, I'm going to start off with points. I already did a piece about the players in the NBA that are averaging at least 20 points per game. But currently looking at the players in the NBA that are sitting in the top 5 in points per game. In 5th place, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning back-to-back MVP, who's averaging 29.2 points as he's playing for the Milwaukee Bucks that are currently sitting 3rd in the Eastern Conference. In 4th place, you have Stephen Curry, the goated starting point guard for the Golden State Warriors, who's averaging 29.5 points per game. Right ahead of him is Damian Lillard, the elite starting point guard for the Portland Trail Blazers, who's averaging 29.8 points per game. Second in the league is Joel Embiid, the elite starting center for Philadelphia, who's averaging 30 points per game for the team that's currently leading the Eastern Conference in wins. And sitting in first is Bradley Beal, the elite starting shooting guard for Washington, who's leading the league with 33.2 points per game. Really quickly looking at who's leading the league in minutes played per game. In 5th in the league is Jeremy Grant, the starting small forward for Detroit, who's averaging 36.2 minutes a game. Right ahead of him is Domantas Sabonis, the 2-time All-Star for the Indiana Pacers, who's averaging 36.5 minutes per game. Third in the league is Julius Randle, the starting power forward for the New York Knicks, who made his very first All-Star game this year. He's averaging 36.7 minutes per game. And alongside him, sitting at second, also averaging 36.7 minutes a game, is Fred VanVleet, the starting shooting guard for Toronto. And the player that's currently leading the NBA in minutes played is James Harden, the elite starting shooting guard for the Brooklyn Nets, who seems to be the guy that is probably doing it all. Going back to the players that are shooting the best from the field. 5th in the league in field goal percentage is Zion Williamson, the elite starting power forward for the New Orleans Pelicans, who's shooting 61.5% from the field. Just ahead of him is Montrezl Harrell, the reigning NBA Sixth Man of the Year that's currently playing for the Lakers. He's shooting 63% from the field. Third in the league is Rudy Gobert, the elite starting center for the Utah Jazz, who's currently shooting 64.7% from the field. Sitting right ahead of him is Rashaan Holmes, the starting center for the Sacramento Kings, who's shooting 65.7% from the field. And ahead of him is Jared Allen, the starting center for Cleveland, who's shooting 66.3% from the field. Looking at who's shooting the best from beyond the three-point line, fifth in the NBA is Joe Ingles, the starting small forward for the Utah Jazz, who's shooting 46% from the field, playing for the team that's currently holding the best record in the NBA. Sitting ahead of him is Marcus Morris Sr., the starting the bench small forward for the Los Angeles Clippers, who's shooting 46.3% from three. Ahead of him is Jeremy Lamb, the shooting guard for the Indiana Pacers, who's shooting 47.9% from three. Ahead of him is Joe Harris, the starting small forward for the Brooklyn Nets, who's shooting 50.4% from three. And ahead of him is Bobby Portis, who is leading the league in three-point percentage, who's making at least 1 3 per game, who's shooting 50.7% from three. Looking at the free throw shooting percentage leaders, from going in the top 5, 5th in the NBA is Damian Lillard, the elite starting point guard for the Portland Trail Blazers, who in addition to averaging almost 30 points a game is shooting 93.6% from the free throw line. I would say the same about Stephen Curry, who's sitting 4th in the NBA in free throw percentage as the goated point guard, is shooting 93.8% from the field as he's averaging 29.5% or 29.5 points per game. Third in the NBA is Emmanuel Quickley, the rookie shooting guard for the New York Knicks, who's shooting 94% from the line. Second in the NBA is Chris Paul, the 11-time All-Star, the elite starting point guard for the Phoenix Suns, who's averaging 96.2% of it, or he's making 96.2% of his free throws at the line. And then leading the league in free throw percentage is Jordan Clarkson, the front runner for Sixth Man of the Year for the Utah Jazz, who's shooting 96.4% from the line. Jumping out to players that are leading in rebounds per game. Sitting in 5th in the NBA, or at least it's a tie between Nikola Vucevic, the newest all-star center for the Orlando Magic, and DeAndre Ayton, the starting center for the Phoenix Suns. They're both averaging 11.6 rebounds per game. Fourth in the NBA is Giannis Antetokounmpo, the elite starting power forward and reigning back-to-back MVP for the Milwaukee Bucks, who's averaging 11.8 rebounds per game. Third in the NBA is Rudy Gobert, the elite starting center for the Utah Jazz, who's averaging 13.4 rebounds per game. Second in the league is Andre Drummond, the starting center for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who's averaging 13.5 rebounds. And the current leader in the NBA in rebounds is Clint Capella, the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks, who's averaging 14.1 rebounds per game. Looking at the assist leaders this season, there's a two-way tie for fourth place as both Luka Doncic, the elite starting point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, and Chris Paul, the elite starting point guard for the Phoenix Suns, are both averaging 9 assists per game this season. Third in the NBA is Trey Young, the elite starting point guard for the Atlanta Hawks, who's averaging 9.5 assists a game. Second in the league is Russell Westbrook, the elite starting point guard for the Washington Wizards, who's averaging 9.6 assists per game. And the current leader in assists per game is James Harden, the elite starting shooting guard for the Brooklyn Nets, who's averaging 10.9 assists a game. Looking at the current league leaders in steals, it's a tie for fifth place. With 1.6 as Kawhi Leonard, the goated small forward for the Los Angeles Clippers, Ben Simmons, the elite starting point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers, Andre Drummond, the starting center for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and DeJounte Murray, the starting point guard for the San Antonio Spurs, are all averaging 1.6 steals per game. Sitting ahead of them, tied for third in steals per game, you have Nikola Jokic, the elite starting center for the Denver Nuggets, and Fred VanVleet, the starting shooting guard for the Toronto Raptors. They're both averaging 1.7 steals per game. And then tied for the league high in steals per game, averaging 1.8. You have TJ McConnell, the starting point guard for the Indiana Pacers, and Drew Holiday, the starting point guard for the Milwaukee Bucks. They're both averaging 1.8 on the season. Looking at the league leaders in blocks this season, starting in fifth place, or I guess there are two players that are tied for fourth place. Nerlens Noel, the starting center for the New York Knicks, and Chris Boucher, the power forward coming off the bench for Toronto. I guess they're both coming off the bench. Both players are averaging 2 blocks a game this season. Third in the NBA is Clint Capella, the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks, who's averaging 2.3 blocks this season. Second in the league is elite starting center Rudy Gobert for the NBA, or for the Western Conference leading Utah Jazz, as he is averaging 2.7 blocks per game. And the current leader in the NBA in blocks is Miles Turner, the starting center for the Indiana Pacers, who's averaging 3.4 blocks per game this season. Looking at who's leading the league in turnovers this year, fifth in the NBA is Zach Levine, the starting shooting guard for the Chicago Bulls, who just most recently made his first All-Star game. He's averaging 3.9 turnovers per game. You have a two-way tie for third place is Luka Doncic, the elite point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, and James Harden, the elite starting shooting guard for the Brooklyn Nets, are both averaging 4.2 turnovers per game. Second in the league in turnovers is Trey Young, the elite starting point guard for the Atlanta Hawks, who's averaging 4.3 turnovers. And the current leader in the NBA in turnovers is Russell Westbrook, the elite starting point guard for the Washington Wizards, who's averaging 4.8 turnovers per game this season. Looking at the double-doubles leaders this season, tied for fifth with 23, you have Clint Capella, the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks, and Nikola Vucevic, the starting center for the Orlando Magic. They both have 23 on the season. You have a three-way tie for second place in the NBA with 24 double-doubles. The ties between Domantas Sabonis, the two-time All-Star for the Indiana Pacers, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning back-to-back NBA MVP, and Rudy Gobert, the elite starting center, and I think the two-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year. That's some great company for Domantas Sabonis, but all three of those players are averaging 24. They have 24 double-doubles on the season, and the current leader in double-doubles this year is Nikola Jokic, the elite starting center for the Denver Nuggets, who has 29 double-doubles in his 33 games played, which of course is phenomenal. And then looking at who's leading the league in triple-doubles, fifth in the league with 4 of them is Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning back-to-back MVP for the Milwaukee Bucks. He has 4 of them on the year. Fourth in the NBA is James Harden, the elite shooting guard for the Brooklyn Nets, who has 6 of them. Third in the league is Luka Doncic, the elite starting point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, who just turned 22 yesterday. He has 7 of them. And second in the NBA is Nikola Jokic, the elite starting center for the Denver Nuggets, who has 8 of them. And the current leader in the NBA in triple-doubles is Russell Westbrook, the elite starting point guard for the Washington Wizards, who has 10 of them. And then last but not least, looking at the players who are leading in PER this season, 5th in the league is Zion Williamson, the elite second-year power forward for the New Orleans Pelicans out of Duke, who currently has a PER of 27.12. Sitting right ahead of him, it is Kawhi Leonard, the go-to small forward for the Los Angeles Clippers, who has a PER of 27.27. Third in the league is Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning back-to-back MVP for the Milwaukee Bucks, who has 29.32 PER. Second in the NBA is Joel Embiid, the elite starting center for the Philadelphia 76ers, who has a PER of 31.07. And then right ahead of him and leading the league in PER is Nikola Jokic, the elite starting center for the Denver Nuggets, who has a PER of 31.37 on the season. With that said, I want to thank everyone once again for listening to this whole piece. Today is Monday, March 1st, 2021. And of course, I plan on doing these updates every month. With that said, I want to thank everyone once again for listening to all 10.5 minutes of my piece. I hope all is well, and I will catch you with a couple of individual profiles after this. So peace out.